This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting held at 870 Colfax here in Benton Harbor. In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the following link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to liz.goodwin@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment section as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 6:13 p.m. We will begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson,
Present.
Vice President Bowens,
Present.
Secretary Triplett, present. Treasurer Creighton, Trustee Rocket Martin, Trustee Gavin,
Present.
Trustee Doyle.
Present.
Madam President, a quorum has been established.
All right, awesome. A quorum has been established. Next, we have approval of the agenda. Dr. Butts requested that we have this special meeting today, although we do have a regular meeting Tuesday. He indicated that it was extremely important for the success of the district that we get these votes taking place this week if we can. So if you look at your agenda, you have the revised 2024-2025 school calendar, which they need to get set to get off to a great start, as well as separations of employment, new hires, and then transfer of staff. So at this time, I'll ask, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with consent for staff report H1, H2, H3, and T1.
So I want to understand you want to merge.
Okay, keep T1 off.
Okay.
Okay, let me rephrase my motion. I would like to make a motion that we have consent agenda items for H1, 2, and 3.
All right, so trustee Bowens has made a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment of staff report H1, H2, and H3 being one consent agenda. That would mean that we would take one vote that would stand for all three reports. Is there support to that? The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Trustee Gavin?
Yes, my concern is for combining resignations, new hires, and 17, I think, transfers. Those are three very different topics that will require a different conversation. And I feel concerned that we are not addressing these issues separately. I guess I would request, I'm in approval of the agenda. Discussing these items, I'm just wondering if we can amend the agenda to keep it as is.
Okay, any other comments?
Agenda as is.
Any other comments from the board?
I would also ask,
go ahead.
if we are going to have an opportunity for a closed session to discuss a legal opinion.
So this meeting was a special meeting, so it was a one-day turnaround. So I don't have a closed session plan, but we can anticipate one for Tuesday. Can follow up on that.
Did we receive any information?
No, not yet.
Okay, I can appreciate that.
Okay.
Madam President.
So that's my request, is if we can amend it to.
You're wanting to just keep it as is?
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Doyle?
I agree. These are separate things, and I think we should discuss those. I personally would like to see if H1 can be separated, the retirement be separated from the resignations. I believe, yeah, we need to discuss this. This should not be a consent.
Okay, if there's no other comments, Secretary Triplett, can you call the
Madam
vote?
President,
Trustee Bowens?
Madam President, the reason why I would like for us to do as a consent agreement, I'm sorry, not a consent agreement, a consent on these, because when we have, look at this, the resignations, we would still have time to comment on them. However, I don't want us to meddle in day-to-day affairs. We have one employee, which is the superintendent, and I want to make sure that we are not micromanaging. We can still voice our concerns with the comments, but due to the efficiency of the meeting, making the meeting efficient and time, as this was a last-minute meeting requested, and to the sake of our staff and the citizens' time, I think it would give us time.
Okay, so I'll
Madam
add,
President,
go ahead, Secretary Triplett.
first of all, I think that we need to be mindful of the terminology that we're using, especially moving forward as it relates, because people have questions and concerns that would like to, as you said, this was a last minute call meeting. So I mean, you have to be careful when you use words like micromanaging and what have you. It is the responsibility of this Board of Education. We all took an oath to take time out of our schedule to be here to make sure that we're doing what's best for our community and for our schools. So I too myself, I don't have any problem with it either way. Well, not a problem, but I do say, you know, this is a lot to mesh resignations, hires, new hires, and all those different events and what have you. I mean, you know. But yeah, just be mindful when we use words like micromanaging and what have you from this board table moving forward.
All right, and then my comment, Vice President Bowens, I know often we are in similar tone, however, my vote will be no for your amendment, just to kind of put it out there. And it's only because I know that there may be some variations in how people choose to vote on each individual staff report. And so I would feel most comfortable having an opportunity to vote on them separately, but I understand your desire to move through, you know, swiftly and supporting the superintendent's recommendation, but I would feel a little more comfortable in us separating them. However, I'm hoping that we don't prolong discussion unnecessarily and that we're able to get through the agenda efficiently, but we'll see how the vote goes.
Okay, Madam President,
Yes,
I would like to rescind my motion so we can discuss the meeting, so we're not, because we have extensive questions, I would like to remove my motion.
your motion, you're removing your motion. Okay. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as it stands?
So moved.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Trustee Gavin and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none additional, Secretary Triplett, can you call the vote for approval of the agenda?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
No.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda is review of board norms. The Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. My goal is to be out of here no later than 7 p.m. today. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. Next, we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment on an agenda item, meaning something that we're taking vote on today? Okay, you can come forward and I'll read the public comment statement. Did you need this? Okay. This is goes with her statement. Okay, the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 2 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak: public comment on agenda items and open public comment. We request that each interested participant complete a public participation form using legible writing to ensure that responses are appropriate and properly focused. Per Benton Harbor Area Schools Bylaws 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments with your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until any other persons have had the opportunity to speak on that topic. Participants may remove their mask when addressing the board. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. Please ensure your public participation form includes your contact information as requested. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. You have the floor.
Hi, my name is Roxanne Gilbert. I'm currently the administrative assistant at the middle school. I'm standing in front of you guys again today, 6 months later, in regards to my position getting taken away from me and me getting put into another position as a substitute teacher. I do not have a degree in teaching. My degree that I have is in administrative. I have my associates in administrative assistant, my bachelor's in business management, and I'm currently going for my master's. And it's not dealing with teaching. I have expressed numerous times that I do not want to be a substitute teacher. But yet again, 6 months later, I'm in front of the board expressing why is my position getting taken away from me for a person that stated that they didn't want it. And I was just told that my position was getting taken from me just this morning. We talk about stability and we always talk about consistency for our community and for our district, but this is not stability for our kids when they're used to seeing me every morning in that office or at that door. You're taking me away from them. And you forcing me to be in a position where I'm not comfortable in being. I don't feel like it's fair. I've been working for this district in December, it'll be 6 years. And I have showed my devotion for this district. I asked for meetings. It's gonna be later on, but I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like it's fair. And I have proven myself so much. I go beyond for my position and what I do, and I work hard. Extended hours that I do not get paid for and never asked for. I don't think it's fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment on agenda items? One second. Liz sent the agenda out yesterday? It should be in your emails yesterday. Huh?
All I've seen is sheets.
You haven't, it didn't go out?
We never got it.
Okay, so we're gonna proceed. If you could share it with everybody, just reshare the document that you're viewing.
Okay.
All right, so up next on the agenda, we have teaching and learning. This is the revised calendar. If you all remember, we did, this is one of the items that we did discuss during our work session. We gave a little bit of follow-up or feedback and then asked about the plan being, or the calendar being reviewed with the union. And so at this particular time, I'm gonna pass the floor to Director Kapsch. I'll get it right next time. Okay. And she's gonna present staff report T1, and then if you could just give us the update. I did see it noted in the staff report, but I'll allow you to give us the update on what has occurred since we last met.
would you like me to read the entire report that we read the last time?
You can give us a quick update and then we can read through it. It's been a
So-
couple weeks.
So we met with representatives of the Teachers Association, presented the changes to them. And their concerns were related to the previous calendar committee and the calendar that was updated. All of the questions and concerns that they had were actually addressed in the new calendar proposal. They were concerned about the late starts. They were concerned about the amount of professional development. They were concerned with aligning our district calendar with other calendars in the county. Our calendar is not fully aligned to the other calendars in the county at this time, but that is a goal to bring it closer together. This is kind of a first step.
Or, you know, something that they provide to the superintendent indicating that they have discussed, have reviewed, and are in favor of the calendar.
Typically, are you finished with your question?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Typically, what happens is there's a committee that's formed of teachers, not only just teachers from the teachers union, but teachers from all the buildings. And the director, now director of academics, formerly chief of academics. And and along with the HR director or formerly the chief human resource officer. There are a series of meetings. There's not one meeting. There are a series of meetings that are held in which questions, concerns, comments are discussed and a consensus formed. The calendar is then made and then sent back for approval through the teachers union. And then it's submitted to me to present it to the board.
I like that process. So they submit something to you formally indicating that they have approved it?
The calendar that you all get in the end, that's what's submitted to me once they've gone through their process.
The committee
Yes, ma'am.
usually does.
Yes, ma'am.
And in this instance,
In this instance, all of the questions weren't answered. So we went back, we had come up with a new calendar upon President Robinson's request from the last meeting. We went back, met with the teachers union to make sure that they're
Duration of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 3140 and 4140, resignation of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, personnel and leadership. Benton Harbor Area Schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. So separation of employment, first we have Shani Mulligan from the position of PE teacher at DEC. Second, we have Mr. Nicholas Blue, resignation from the position of administrative assistant for athletics from Benton Harbor High School. We have Claire Romano Martin, retiring from the position of kindergarten teacher at DEC. Ms. Jasminica Newburn, separation via resignation from the position of TNT art at the high school. Ellen Surgar, resignation from the position of teacher science at Fair Plain Middle School. Recommended action that Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H1?
Madam President, I make a motion that we approve staff report H1 with the correction on Jasminica Newburn's date of hire.
what's the correction?
Oh, yeah, because I don't think,
2023.
That is correct.
What?
okay.
Sorry, I didn't hear what. Madam President.
Trustee Bowens caught that the date of hire for Ms. Newburn says 9/10/2013. It should be 23. Okay, trustee Doyle, I did hear you. Was that was that an attempted motion? Would you like to be the support or was that?
Well, like I
I
stated.
can't hear
before-
you, Angela.
Like I
I'm sorry.
stated before, I would like to separate the retirement from the rest of the resignations. Is that possible?
They all go.
Create another human resource.
When they,
Okay, so
Staff
right,
report?
so I thought you were attempting to do a support, but you
No.
wanted to amend it.
Yes.
So we currently have that motion on the floor.
Mhm.
Trustee Vice President Bowens, is that an amendment that you would like to make at this time, or are you wanting to proceed with H1 as you?
I would like to proceed with H1 as
Okay.
usual.
Is there support to H1?
I support.
Okay, the motion has been made by trustee Bowens and supported by trustee Rocket Martin. I did, trustee Doyle has stated that she would prefer to separate the two. I'll take that as a comment, but if you have additional comment, just let me know. Secretary Triplett, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just for clarification purposes, we established this protocol as it related to reason for separation. So when we have resignations and we have retirement, that right there, that column right there lets us know the reasons why they have separating from the district. So it's not anything that you would have to do, like something for retirement, something for resigning. They all, so that column right there, trustee Doyle cleared, because no matter what they're doing, they're separating from the district.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I was not going to support this.
Yes,
But I would support a retirement, but not resignation. And that's why I wanted to separate it.
Okay, did you were finishing up your comment?
yeah, and I to the director of HR, exit interviews completed. I don't know what level of tenacity you're doing this to ask these people that when they get ready to resign or well, retirement is self-explanatory. But when we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different resignations from the Board of Education, from the district, there has to be a reason for them resigning. I think a lot of times when we ask for those exit interviews are not to be punitive. And I think that approach, whether it is in the district's favor or not in the district favor, I think it is some information that is pertinent information that needs to be received so that we can look at those things, not us, but you all can look at that information and say, these are some areas that we have some weaknesses in. If they're saying that they resigned because they felt whatever they felt, then we need to know that information, or they're saying that I got another job. But that data is very important because repeatedly we're seeing every year, every month or two, all of these resignations. And the only time that we get a completed exit interview is when somebody has something horrible, horrific to say about this Board of Education. And it seems that you all can get that information every time. And we get those. Those are the only 3 exit interviews that I received when they blasted the Board of Education. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Trustee Gavin?
Thank you, President Robinson. It is I do concur with trustee Doyle. It's a little confusing because the table says resignations, and then you have someone in here who's retiring. That doesn't match, right? So it's I can definitely understand why that should be a separate staff report. We might vote differently on somebody who's resigning versus somebody they've done their years, they're retiring. So I think it is important to make those distinctions in distinct staff reports. I'm also concerned about Jasmine Newburn in particular, because it says that she was an art teacher. I thought she taught English. And so
I can clarify that. We just recently transferred her into an art position in the last month or so?
Yes.
So she was still a TNT, but they transferred her from one subject to another to fill a void.
art.
We took the vote.
Okay. That's interesting. I guess I'm also wondering, and I haven't had a conversation with her, but I'm just wondering, with this being a TNT, was this one of the people who was told they had to reapply for their position?
Dr. Butt?
She was one of the recipients of the letters about reapplying.
Okay, so if she received that, how is it a resignation if she was told that she didn't have a job?
So she was transferred prior to that conversation coming up. So then when she got transferred, she was assured of a position.
She was transferred before she was told to reapply.
After,
So she was told to reapply. And then she was told, you have this different position. And she accepted it and then resigned.
as far as the acceptance, she was transferred. That was the action of the board, but afterwards she resigned.
So it sounds to me that this is a response to being told you don't have a job. You need to reapply. You don't have job security. So when I see these resignations and I see no exit interview completed, it just gives me pause because of the practices in which we are doing this. And it makes me feel like this is I know for a fact, like this is a person who bleed orange and black. And so I'm just wondering, like, what are our practices in terms of making sure that we are holding on, not even holding on to our staff, but just maintaining positive relationships and with our staff so that they can build a relationship and build a proper career in Benton Harbor. It's very difficult for me to support staff reports with resignations when I am not, like, what is the process for trying to maintain a relationship with the people who applied to Benton Harbor area schools? Did she give any feedback about the assignment? Did she have any say in the assignment? Are we just saying, hey, you were this, now you reapply and you're gonna do this thing that has nothing to do with what they went to school for?
And
It's a question.
okay, so with that question, I can't go into detail because that's a personnel matter.
So trustee Raquel Martin, was up next and then I'll go.
I just wanted to ask, is there a time frame for the exit interviews? From the time they resign or retire, whatever, is there a time frame that you give them that they can give the exit interview back to you if they so desire? Because it is their choice. We only can offer it. If they decide they don't want to do it, there's nothing we can do about it. And if they do it and decided it doesn't come to the board, there's still nothing we can do about it because it is a personnel issue.
Thank you for that question. So within 24 hours, preferably within 24 hours, we try to respond, confirming that we've received your resignation, following up with that official letter from the Human Resources Department, along with the link where they can do, as Trustee Gavin requested, that they can do that electronically from their phone, anywhere for convenience. So that link does not expire. So even at this point, they can still visit that link to submit their exit interview.
Okay, and they are aware that they can submit and that we would like to have it. We really would like to have it.
Yes, it is written in the email along with the letter that is attached to the email. However, I can also resend those links to everyone listed on this list today.
Thank you.
Okay, so my comment that I would like to make is I think it's important that we not just make assumptions as it relates to reasons why individuals resign. The exit interviews, of course, the point being made would be helpful for us to know reasons that individuals resign, but the tone of the conversation is going as if we have some factual information or a letter from Ms. Newburn saying, or anyone saying that was the reason that they resigned. And so it could be for a better job opportunity. There could be someone or agency, a company that saw the blessing that she was to Benton Harbor area schools. Sometimes people choose to chase other opportunities. I'm not saying that is what took place, but what I'm saying is I would prefer that we not have a conversation as if we know the reason why, and then a certain particular individual chose to resign. So I just want us to I want us to be careful in what we say because it can be interpreted as if we know for a fact that the resignation is related to something in particular and we don't. If there's no other comments from the board at this time, the motion was made by trustee Bowens and supported by trustee Rocket Martin. Any other questions or comments? Secretary Triplett,
President Robinson,
yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
No.
Trustee Gavin,
No.
motion carried.
All right, now what I will say about those that have resigned and as well as the individual that retired, we still would like for you to complete the exit interview survey. As Secretary Triplett indicated, it doesn't automatically mean that you're gonna have something negative to say. You could be telling us what we do awesome. So it's always helpful to have that information. Now, I will say, I was with the state for 9 years and I did not do an exit interview, nor did I do a survey. I declined. I'm transitioning out. I prefer not to talk about why. I just want to go about my business. I chose not to even have a party for myself. So I say that to say not everyone wants to sit down and have that conversation and get the feedback. And that's just personal experience. So I'm not always taken back negatively when we don't get an exit survey because they wanted to know where I was going and it was none of their business. You've already had an opportunity to speak.
I just wanted to say for the retiree, if we
Okay.
could,
You wanna-
give a
go ahead.
shout out or a thank you for the person that Claire Romano Martin for retiring, from DEC. Retirement is always a special time of life and it is to be celebrated. And so I would like to just thank her for her years of service that she gave to Benton Harbor area schools.
Thank you for that, trustee Rocket Martin. I agree. I hope she enjoys her retirement. I know most people come back into the field and work anyway, but. All right, so next up we have staff report H2, which is for new hires, Director McDermott.
Thank you, President Robinson.
I also noticed that I have your last name correct, just in time to try to figure out the new directors. I'll have it
Appreciate it.
before the end of the meeting.
Staff report H2, submitting for board consideration to approve the employment of staff in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Facts and analysis is recommended that the board approves the superintendent's recommendation for the hiring of the following personnel. Policy reference 3120 and 4120, employment of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, personal leadership. Benton Harbor area schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. We have first on our list, Ms. Naisha McGee Phillips for the position of middle school principal, specifically at Fairplain Middle School. Second, we have Tiara Greer Allen for the position of truancy prevention specialist at Central Administration. Third, we have Jennifer Stiller for the position of HR coordinator and recruiter for Central Administration. Then Linda Sanford, guidance counselor, certified guidance counselor here at Benton Harbor High School. Recommended action that Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the employment of the aforementioned staff.
All right, so Dr. Buss, I have a quick question for you. We've already accepted Mr. Litton's resignation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just couldn't remember if that was a previous vote or if that was on this one. So, okay, awesome. At this point, I'll ask, is there a motion to approve staff report H2?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion to approve staff report H2.
Is there a second or support?
I support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? You all do have your resumes as well, and they're for each of the individuals in this particular section.
I do have a question.
Okay, we'll go Gavin and then we'll go Triplett.
So in these new hires for these positions, there were interviews held.
Yes.
Thank you.
Trustee Gavin.
Okay, thank you, President Robinson. When I ask these questions, there are no assumptions. That's why I ask questions. In regards to the resumes, I think it's important for the public to understand that we've asked for resumes and we get them right here at the table when we get here. And so we have, 4 new hirees and we don't see the resumes until we get here and then we start the meeting. And so there's very little time to actually review them. And I know that some people are not really interested in the details, but I'm not one of those people. It's not to be micromanaging, but it's to make informed decisions. And I think that as a board member, with the authority to supervise as in the policies, it's important to be able to make informed decisions. So my request is that in the future, Dr. Butts, if we can get these in digital form, so that we can review these alongside the agenda, that would be super helpful. And this is not to micromanage, but just to make sure that our yeses are good yeses. That's a question.
Yes, ma'am, we can provide those digitally prior to the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm really happy to see Tiara Allen on here, former student of mine, amazing young lady. I believe that she will be an awesome truancy prevention specialist. I'm really glad that we're investing in truancy prevention. I think she will connect really well with the students and the families if they are not present in school and helping to make sure they get in here. So I'm really excited to see new hires. And I will have to yield to our Director of Human Resources and our Superintendent. And I'm just always excited to see new hires. And I look forward to hearing great things about the individual's names.
Thank you. I have a quick question for you, Director McDermott. This HR coordinator and recruiter position, is that the role that you were formerly in?
That is correct, President Robinson.
It was titled exactly the same at that time?
That is correct.
Okay. I just didn't know you had the coordinator piece. I think I focused so much on recruiting. So can you just really quickly, what's the other piece? What's the coordination piece?
Kind of overseeing and supporting daily operations of the Human Resources
Department. Okay.
Department.
Can you say that again?
Supporting daily operations, coordinating daily operations in the Human Resources Department.
Okay.
If this was the same position that you had, is that correct?
That is correct.
That was for recruiting when you got that position.
So the position was titled HR Coordinator Recruiter. The focus was heavily for recruiting. However, I did coordinate a lot of the efforts for the Human Resources Department.
So at this particular time, you're saying that we do not have anybody recruiting in a district that's losing 200 and 300 kids a year?
So to help him with answering that question, I think he just became director.
Yes.
Maybe 2 weeks ago.
I believe so.
I'm clear on all this. I know what I'm asking. I'm saying right here that you asked the question, was this the HR coordinator and recruiter? That position was specifically developed for emphasis on recruiting of students back to Ben Harbor area schools.
Staff.
Oh,
The staff.
sorry, this position, specifically the position HR Coordinator and Recruiter is solely focusing on recruiting staff.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say, I didn't hear you mention anything about recruiting, period. I just heard you had somebody in there assisting the HR office. We have a director of human resources.
He was just responding to my question. I asked him, what did the coordinator piece of the position look like? Because I never noticed the coordinator on it before.
So what I'm asking now, what does the recruiter piece look like? That's what I would like to know. Since you guys have cleared it up for me.
I'd also like to point out that you're taking a second time and talking, which I did not give you the floor. But I'm gonna allow you to.
Interrupted my
No,
conversation.
no, you asked one question and said, thank you. And then I asked the question and you jumped right in before I gave you the floor. but you had already taken a question, and it was, were these people
That's all right, I'm
interviewed?
good. I don't need a response.
Can you please give
I do
Secretary
not-
Triplett a
I
response,
do
please?
not need a response. I have enough information for myself. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome, Secretary
Madam
Triplett.
Madam President, you are appreciated. I don't need a response.
So are you. I
know.
appreciate you always.
Always.
Vice President Bowens.
I am expecting great things. Yesterday I was out and about and I got to randomly meet Miss Stiller. When you called her, which was weird, because I didn't even know nothing about her applying for the job or anything. And to hear the excitement in her voice and to coming to the district. Also, I am excited about Miss Miss Phillips coming. And Miss Allen, I am really excited about this and where it would take us. And I look forward to seeing great results. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? All right, if there's none, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Oh, before I give my vote, Dr. Butts, with you presenting this to us, I would assume that you've looked at these buildings, looked at the staff that you're placing there, and they're a good fit for your culture in each of the noted buildings?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm ready. My vote would be yes, Secretary Triplett.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, so congratulations to our new staff. Welcome to Benton Harbor Area Schools. We look forward to great things. I'm especially excited to see what Fairplain Middle School looks like this year with new leadership. And I had another question, but I'll ask that one offline. Okay, so we're gonna proceed to staff report H3. This is for transfer of staff. So I'm not sure, Dr. Butts, did you want to lead this conversation, or are we gonna just dig right into the staff report? What's your preference?
However the board would like, we could dig right into it, or
Okay.
we could present it, or
Okay, so what I would ask is that can you clarify for the board why we needed to take votes on these items prior to Tuesday, or the importance or significance of the transfers and hires and things of that nature?
yes, ma'am. On some of these transfers, it is imperative that they get started with the remainder of the staff. Staff will be returning real soon, and it's important that they return with the staff with the training that we have planned, and also for them to acclimate themselves and get themselves settled prior to school starting.
Okay, Mr. McDermott, can you present staff report H3?
Yes, staff report H3, transfer of staff, submitting for board consideration to approve staff employment in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Facts and analysis, it is recommended that the board approve the superintendent's recommendation for the transfer of the following personnel. Policy reference 3130 and 4130, assignment and transfer of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, personal leadership. Benton Harbor Area Schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. First on our transfers list, we have Delandria Patterson, transferring from the position of assistant principal at Benton Harbor High School to the position of principal at Discovery Enrichment Center. Second, we have Trevin Alexander, transferring from the position of guidance counselor to assistant principal at Benton Harbor High School. We have next Mr. Ardell Clark, behavior interventionist at Fairplain East Elementary, transferring to the position of family engagement specialist at Fairplain Middle School. Next, we have Ms. Regina Robinson, from the position of administrative assistant at Benton Harbor High School to the position of administrative assistant at Fairplain East Elementary. Next, we have Joyce Perkins, Special Education Department Clerk at Central Office, transferring to the position of administrative assistant at Fairplain Middle School. Next, Ms. Benton Harbor Area Schools. Next, we have Shannon Williams, position of principal at Discovery Enrichment Center, moving to the position of instructional facilitator at Fairplain Middle School. Sheldon Nelson, multi-tiered system of support specialist, MTSS specialist at MLK Junior to MTSS specialist at FPE. Ms. Heather Mueller, family engagement specialist at CAPE, transferring to the position of behavior interventionist at Fairplain East Elementary. Next, we have Dawn Frederickson, instructional facilitator at Discovery Enrichment Center, moving to the position of teacher, math teacher at Benton Harbor High School. Next, we have Brittany Gathings, teacher in training, ELA at Benton Harbor High School, moving to the position of teacher in training, kindergarten at Discovery Enrichment Center. Next, we have Sophia Mason, teacher in training math, moving to the position at Benton Harbor High School, moving to the position of CTE, Engineering, Technology, and Robotics at Benton Harbor High School. Next, we have LaShawn Talbert Suggs, instructional facilitator at Fairplain Middle School, moving to the position of instructional facilitator at Discovery Enrichment Center. Last on our list, we have Ms. Ellen Acitello from the position of teacher in training 5th grade at FPE to the position of teacher in training 1st grade at MLK Junior.
Is there a motion? Oh, go ahead.
Recommended action that Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H3?
I put a motion on the floor to to approve staff report H3.
Is there a second or support? The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Questions, comments, and concerns? Before I open up the floor, I just have one quick question, Dr. Butts. The transfers noted here impact, looks like every building that we have. Was there a committee that worked with you on determining the best moves overall for the collective district?
Yes, ma'am. The new cabinet that we have, we went back and looked at the buildings, looked at the concerns of some of the employees that they had brought to us as well.
Okay, so your cabinet meaning Mr. McDermott, Ms. Kupsch? I did it. All right. Was Mr. Dash a part of this or was he not?
Mr. Dash, Ms. Cleatha Nichols,
Okay.
and Dr. Christopher Burnick.
Okay, so Director McDermott, Director Nichols, Mr. Burnick,
Yes,
Director Dash.
yes.
Did I miss anyone? And Kush?
You said it's Cups,
Kupsch.
McDermott,
Okay,
Nichols.
I got it.
Okay.
All right, questions from the board?
Madam President.
You have the floor, Vice President Bowens.
So I guess my question is, did you said the admin cabinet did, but did the building principals have any input on this?
Ms. McDermott, did we reach out to any of the principals? I cannot remember.
Some of our principals were involved in some of the conversations. I can't say that principals were involved in all of the conversations. However, this was mainly discussed and decisions you see before you were decided at the cabinet level.
What is that?
So here's my question. If we're putting, I'm seeing 2020 all over 2021. And hear me out. If we're putting a new principal at our middle school, normally the secretary, and I understand some of the situations what we're dealing with, normally that building secretary is probably second in command, not really official, but they know the flow of the building. Do you think we are creating an unstable environment?
I do not think we are. And I want to make sure and add something here for all of the transfers listed here. As Dr. Butts, as our superintendent mentioned, the cabinet met and we compiled or brought to the table all of the concerns that we've heard over from last school year, over the summer. And one of the things we focused on is putting people in a position that we think to help them succeed, along with making sure we are providing a great culture and climate for our district. Also, some of our moves did take into consideration, we are trying to be financially responsible. So some of our positions, we have an obligation to make sure our district hired staff are in position. So those are some of the things that led the conversation that brought us to these transfers today.
My second question is, in February or January, and I'm trying not to violate personnel matters, we did a transfer. And now we're doing another transfer of a same individual.
I think I know where you're going. Once again, all of these recommendations are a combination of feedback we've received, some from principals, cabinet, and some that have been sent directly to the superintendent's office. So what you see, some transfers are connected. All of them are based on the feedback we've received, and we think this is the best move for us to make as a district to move the district forward.
I understand it's based on the feedback. I'm trying not to challenge him, please forgive me. I understand it's based on the feedback you received and everything. If I'm teaching 9th or 10th grade, I'm prepared to teach that. Then don't you think it's a huge jump to go from 9th to 10th grade, secondary to elementary?
Thank you. So since I think we all know it's, I understand Vice President Bowens. Not some of the transfers you see here were requested. We don't list which ones were requested, but some of the transfers here were requested. That's the best I can say.
Thank you.
Secretary Triplett.
I look here and the thing that's kind of concerning to me, and this has been a common practice here, where the central administration team make decisions, the principals are never at the table. They are never included in this table, at this table. I look here and I see, first of all, Benton, when the state looks at a school district, the thing that they look at that high school. They don't go through and say, Upton Junior High is a good junior high, so-and-so elementary is a good elementary. When they measure and make their decisions, their major decisions is at the high school level. And so when I look here and I see a seasoned administrative assistant who was at Benton Harbor High School, who has worked in this district for years, records, everything. And now this person is being transferred to an elementary school, and an EduStaff secretary is being transferred to Benton Harbor High School. I want to know, did anyone talk to the principal of Benton Harbor High School? And I don't need to know all of the details. Was the principal of Benton Harbor High School included in this decision to take his administrative assistant from this school and to replace her with an EduStaff employee at Benton Harbor High School? I need to know this.
Thank you for that question. All of the building principals.
I said, was the principal at Benton Harbor High School a part of this decision? That's all I ask, is either a yes or no to remove his administrative assistant from his building and to receive an EduStaff employee at the only high school that we have in this district, where records, documentations, understanding the protocols, the ins and outs and everything, state reporting and everything is critical. Was the principal at Ben Harbor High School involved in this decision to take from this building his administrative assistant? Yes or
Can you
no?
repeat your question? Since you want a yes or no answer, I just want to make
That's
sure.
all I need.
I just want to make sure I get it correct. Can you repeat your question so I can give you the
Was
answer
the
that you want?
principal of Benton Harbor High School included in this conversation to remove his administrative assistant from his building and to receive an EduStaff employee in one of the most important positions in the school district? Yes or no?
The answer is not a yes or no answer,
It is for me.
and I
I'm not
can respect
hesitating.
that.
It is for me.
All right,
I
so
can respect
Secretary
that.
Triplett, if we could allow him to give the response that he has.
I don't need
Mr.
the response, Madam President. I'm fine. Because the answer is no.
So I want to remind the public that the meeting is a meeting of the board, and so if you could try not to be loud with your feedback, I would really appreciate it. It's okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? Trustee Doyle,
Okay. So.
I need you to speak in your mic, please.
My first question is, this is a part of the right sizing, correct?
Not so much of a right sizing right now. This was a part of making sure that we had the correct staff in the correct position for the beginning of the school year.
Okay, so I just would like to make it known that I have not been in support of a lot of these transfers because I feel like that causes a problem in the culture and climate of the schools and the buildings. And I feel like I asked if it was a part of the right sizing because we did not have to do that. We did not have to right size. We did not have to get rid of many positions and many people because we had the money. We could have waited to the next year to do that. I'm just really concerned about these movements and people not being happy with being moved. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Trustee Gavin.
I had to sit up here and pray because I know this is the twilight zone. The question was asked to Dr. Butts as the superintendent if the principals were involved, and Dr. Butts, the superintendent, wasn't able to answer that question and deferred to the Director of Human Resources. And my concern is that as the superintendent of schools making these level of executive decisions and this concerning game of musical chairs with people's careers, the principals and the people involved should be involved in that conversation. Not to mention that there is a learning curve that takes place when you get a new job and you have a new cabinet making decisions on behalf of staff who've been here for years. And it's a recipe for disaster. There's nothing against the new cabinet, nothing against the new cabinet, but to uproot all of these people from their positions who are experienced in those positions, who have a unique set of skills in that position at the last minute, and move them to another school and expect there to not be chaos or expect them to do great things without the level of support that's needed and the knowledge and the skill set. It is very concerning. How could I support a staff report that will set our district up for failure right before school starts after we've lost the staff that we've lost? And so I just ask that my tone not be policed because I have a right to be upset about this. I do support DeLandria Patterson as the assistant principal of DEC because she had great, she had a really good rapport there. She was doing amazing things as the principal there. But when I look at an administrative assistant who has the skill set to do the job, wants to do the job, and is taken out of the job, and then all of these letters we're getting from people who are saying that they have the skill set to do the job they're doing and they're being moved, I cannot support this. And I'm seriously concerned about why it was even brought before us.
Okay, any other comments from the board?
Madam President.
You have the floor, trustee Rocket
Yeah,
Martin.
when I look at the transfers, they're not demotions. In fact, they're putting them in positions where they will have leadership ability. And we don't work with these people every day in these buildings. And the people that we've hired a superintendent, and he has a cabinet that's capable. Just, from when I did the, what is that training we just finished? I believe that cabinet is capable. And we don't know for sure that the principals have not voiced their opinion in these transfers. And I believe that if they're being put in those positions, like Trustee Gavin said with DeLandria and with Miss Mason going into CT engineering, Miss Acitello she subbed for me in first grade when I was a principal. So she's aware. But what I'm saying is that we don't know for certain that these people don't want these positions. We're talking because we see what we see, but we don't know what they see. Some of these people may want their positions, with the exception of the young lady in the back. I understand that. May want to go to these new positions that they're being put in.
Okay, so just as a sidebar, were you done, trustee Rocket Martin? Okay, so I'm having a really hard time focusing on hearing the voices. And so I'm gonna ask that the public that's here, keep your tones to a minimum. I'm gonna ask if there's anyone that is texting my board or my superintendent, I would ask that you cease and not do that during board business because everyone should be focused at the table. And then I would ask that the board try to minimize the side conversations because trustee Rocket Martin was talking and I didn't hear anything she was saying because the side conversations is people want me to read phones. I can't do all of that at the table. We have to focus on the conversation at hand. So I wondered, is there anyone else that would like to make a comment?
I have a question to you already made.
Did you already you have a question for me?
Yes.
Go
So if
ahead.
we don't do these transfers, will that leave these positions open?
That would be a question for Dr. Butts. I don't work in the district.
Yes, so some of these positions will be left open.
Quick question,
Almost
Secretary
all of
Triplett.
these positions.
Yes, I guess this is the thing that I have here as far as making sure that we're not micromanaging or what have you. I have no problem with the transitions of all of those positions, but I do have a concern with the administrative assistant position, the moving of the administrative assistant position, because the administrative assistant, whether people know it or not, they are the soul of those buildings. And those people are oftentimes just not taken, looked at in the way in which they should be looked at. And for us to make that decision as far as the administrative assistant and the principals were not involved in this, maybe one was, but the principals are not involved in this, I would feel comfortable and be able to support it with 100%, trusting them to do that. But I think that the administrative assistants with new principals, with, principals with 1 or 2 years experience, their first time here, I think that they should have been at that table when decisions were made as it related to their administrative assistants. And so for me, I feel the rest of it, that's the superintendent. I'll just take the superintendent and the team at what they feel is best. But these administrative assistants, I think that they need to meet with those principals. It is not right. And the principals, I hope that this new team, for years, I hope that this new team start including these principals. The principals need to be at the table. Because a lot of times when you're sitting in central administration, you don't know the day-to-day operation and what goes on in those schools, and it's not your responsibility. However, these people are the ones that are running these buildings. And so I would feel, I don't know, I guess I'm asking Madam President, so that they'll be able to go forth and do their work I don't know how to put this motion on the floor, or we
Well,
already have.
there's currently a motion. It was made by VP Bowens and supported by trustee Raquel Martin. So I'm not sure if he's interested in amending or withdrawing his motion to allow for a new motion to be entered, but we're actually at his liberty currently. Vice President Bowens.
I'm sorry, what was your motion again? No, I got it.
Yeah, I was asking.
So you're wanting us to remove the administrative assistants until Tuesday at our next board meeting to make sure
That the principal.
the principals.
Yeah, that would be my thought, that the principals are at the table with the discussion for the administrative assistant. So I would like to, I guess I'm asking for us to approve this report with the removal of the administrative assistant positions for more discussion.
Madam President, I would like to change my motion.
Okay, Secretary Triplett, were you including Perkins as well?
This right here, no, this right here, because this is administrative assistant. She's a clerk.
So Robinson, Williams,
It
and
would be
Gilbert.
Robinson, Williams, and Gilbert.
Okay, Vice President Bowens,
I would like to change my motion that we
you're amending your motion.
amend my motion that on staff report H3 with the secretary's recommendations that we vote on it by Tuesday of the next board meeting.
Trustee Raquel Martin, are you supporting that?
Say it again.
I would like to change the motion to recommend that we remove the administrative assistants till next Tuesday when the principals speak. The staff have been able to speak with the principals on administrative assistants by next Tuesday. By this coming Tuesday.
I can support that.
Okay, so just for clarification from the board, staff report H3, Vice President Bowens has amended his motion and removed Regina Robinson, Carlisha Williams, and Roxanne Gilbert. And his anticipation would be that those 3 would be deferred until Tuesday.
I actually think Joyce Perkins, because she's, oh, never mind.
I need you to be clear of what your motion is.
What you just said.
Okay, so he's
You would have to include Joyce because it's an administrative.
That's what I was gonna
position.
say.
Yeah, so she would have
Okay.
to, yeah.
so he's clarifying that it's Regina Robinson, Joyce Perkins, Carlisha Williams, and Roxanne Gilbert. Trustee Raquel Martin, you support that? Trustee Raquel Martin, do you still support?
Yes.
All right, so currently we are still at staff report H3. Vice President Bowens has amended his original motion for the removal of Regina Robinson, Joyce Perkins, Carlisha Williams, and Roxanne Gilbert. It has been supported by trustee Raquel Martin. I think each of us have had an opportunity to speak.
President Robinson.
Trustee Gavin.
Okay, so this is better, but it still doesn't address the switch to CAPE. what coverage, my question is, what coverage is there going to be if we're moving the family engagement specialist out of Cape? Do they have somebody there who's assigned to do the student audits and enrollment for their courses at Cape?
That would be a responsibility of the high school principal, since we're not, excuse me, not the high school principal, high school guidance counselor, since we're sharing services in that
So-
area.
So you're gonna have a brand new high school guidance counselor responsible for Ben Harbor High School and Cape. And we're gonna move the person out of Cape who's had that several years of experience doing that in that alternative education program.
And I do understand when you say the experience, but
And it
And-
also looks like the state has spoken highly of this person.
and I can't go into deeper personnel matters with that one.
Right, so I guess I'm wondering, if these people are not satisfied with the transfer and they end up leaving,
We can't do that.
and I know a lot of people shrug their shoulders and say, so what? Okay, let them leave. But there's an impact on the community. So like moving an instructional coach to a math teacher, and somebody said that that's not a downgrade, right? For that person who has that position, that is sending them back to the classroom when that's not what they asked to do. So I think that we're misleading the public by saying that there's no transfers, that's a downgrade. So it would have been helpful to know who on this list was actually requesting these changes and who was getting this information last minute. For that reason, I'm requesting that we table this, with the exception of Delandria Patterson.
Point of order, it's a motion.
So we currently have a motion on the floor, but she can make a motion to table. If she can request a table, we just take the vote to table, and if it fails, then it would go forward. If it goes through, then we would table it.
Okay.
So currently, we were in the motion of staff report
Sorry, I
A.
wasn't finished.
Okay, you have the floor.
I'm sorry. With the exception of Delandria Patterson as the assistant, as the principal of DEC. And I guess it would be helpful to know who were the people that applied for the transfers.
Well, trustee Gavin, so you're tabling so what you're doing kind of sounds like an overwrite of Vice President Bowen's amendment, because you're not tabling the staff report in general. You're taking out certain people. So I want us to kind of be careful
Okay,
with.
well, fine. Thank you for that clarification. My apologies.
Okay.
I guess my request is to table this staff report until we actually get input from the principals on all of these assignments as it relates to how it will impact their building. There's not enough information here. There was no formal conversation with those principals, so I'm just asking if we could table this until we get some input from the leaders of those buildings who actually will be impacted by these decisions.
Okay, so Dr. Bus, these start dates are is this Monday? No, this is tomorrow. Would be the start date, 8/9. So what would be the consequence of waiting till Tuesday?
Training for most of these will start next week.
Okay.
So it will put them behind in some training. We would have to really work with our schedule, trying to get training rescheduled for some of these individuals. It also puts them behind with getting their stuff set up for classrooms, for offices, for all the things that are necessary for them to start the school year off successfully.
Okay, so if there's no, I think just about everybody has had an opportunity to speak. I did not get a chance to share my thoughts.
How does that work, President Robinson? If I request a table,
Are you tabling everything?
I'm asking to, I guess with the rationale that if you don't move people out of their job, they already trained. So I'm requesting that we table this staff report until Dr. Buss can get, and if he can, hurry up and get a, response from the principals within a day, great, but I'm asking that we table this staff report until he gets input from the principals who are impacted by those buildings.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
Okay, so there's no additional discussion. Secretary Triplett, can you call the vote for tabling?
President Robinson,
No.
Vice President Barnes,
No.
Secretary Triplett, no. Trustee Rocket Martin,
No.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion failed.
Okay, so we're still under staff report H3. The motion that was on the floor was the approval of the staff report as it stands with the removal of the 4 that are being transferred into administrative assistant roles, which are Regina Robinson, Joyce Perkins, Carlisha Williams, and Roxanne Gilbert. My thoughts, I always believe that stability is essential to effective governance and leadership. So I completely understand the concern that my board has with the movement in the district. However, what the superintendent has indicated is that the movement is taking place in efforts to try to fill some voids and some gaps. And so this is his attempted resolution for that. And he's making an effort to use his best judgment in doing that. However, I do understand everyone's concerns about the amount of movement. I think it's good that we're catching it before the beginning of the school year, because these staff will be able to be there and set the culture of the district for the arriving students. And I know that we know, students sometimes are used to having certain individuals at a building to welcome them. There's always change in schools every year, whether it's a couple teachers, a couple staff, or a new principal. That's something that's not just standard at Ben Harbor area schools, but throughout our nation. So we do want to get the stability in place though. And I would hope that we wouldn't come in to see another potential transfer list of 14 or 15 other people in the next month. So I will, I'm gonna ask the Secretary Triplett call the vote, and then we'll see where we stand.
President Robinson,
Dr. Buss, I'm sorry, before we take this vote at Cape, are the individuals that you are indicating will do the work for Cape, is that a temporary fix, or is that what you plan to do long term?
That is a plan for long term. Right now, Kate, last year they had, if I'm not mistaken, 56 students, which when we look at our being fiduciary with our finances, that's and to have a whole staff there for that, it does not correlate. So it would serve better to share those services with the high school.
Okay, so what I will say, and then I'll give Secretary Triplett the floor. My expectation, and I would assume that this is the expectation of the full board, is that anyone that is going to be doing the work for the students at Cape is going to be, if not already, trained in the required certifications and guidelines for the programs and systems that Cape use. Is that something that's already in the works for Cape?
Yes, ma'am. And also Mrs. Cupch is very knowledgeable on credit audits, being CTE and the director of academics. She's very knowledgeable on all those credit audits. As a matter of fact, she's starting a tracking sheet to keep up with students, the classes that they have, each student for each building, for the class that they have and the class that they need.
Okay. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for staff report H3?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
No.
Trustee Gavin,
No.
motion carried.
All right, so as a reminder, Dr. Bus, there were 4 individuals that we did not take vote on. So we would need, I'm sorry, you would need to ensure that the work session agenda includes these 4 individuals. And just so the board is aware of what to anticipate, do you think that there would be more other HR related votes that we'll have to take on Tuesday, being that we've done these?
Unless there are any new hires between now and Tuesday.
Mr. McDermott, are you anticipating any quick turnarounds?
We are.
Okay, so if you could try to get those to us as soon as possible, it'll be standard that the agenda will come out today. But I'm not sure when these interviews or when you're expecting to wrap it up, but if you could try to get it to us as soon as possible, so we're not delayed with any other hires.
And Madam President, would you just make sure you repeat those names as I highlight them so I can make sure?
Regina Robinson,
Mhm.
Joyce Perkins.
Yes.
Carlisha Williams.
Okay.
And Roxanne Gilbert.
Yes, ma'am. Got them.
And the conversation or the request from the board was that you include the building principals in this decision to move the staff that are supporting their buildings. It's gonna be a little different for your newly hired principal at Fairplain Middle. But you still give her an opportunity to have a voice in that conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we have gotten through the business at hand for today. Next we have open public comment. Is there anyone here for open public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed. Superintendent announcements and comments.
None at this time, Madam President.
All right, next we have board member announcements and comments. Trustee Gavin.
Okay, I would say, I was looking at something that said leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. And I'm wondering what the vision is. If the recruiting plan consisted of not recruiting Black students in Benton Harbor, 0%. Telling 60 teachers that they need to reapply for their positions when they didn't necessarily have to do that. Getting rid of 20+ support staff. Moving people out of their seasoned positions into positions that they don't want, are not trained in. What's the vision? Leaving our alternative education center without a person who will properly audit those records to make sure that those students aren't taking classes that they're not supposed to take, or are having to repeat classes that they didn't have to repeat. What is the vision for Benton Harbor area schools? And when normally reassignments are there to fill a void, but we already had solutions and we gave them a problem that they didn't need at the last minute. What is the vision? So you cannot accuse me of micromanaging when I'm not seeing a management plan with vision attached for it for growing this district. And so I understand that those who follow me may have a problem with my tone, but I have a problem with gutting our district like a fish. And I think that it's time for us to do something about it. We cannot pretend that we don't know what's going on when it's happening right in our faces. It's happened before on repeat. And if we as a board do not step up and do something about it, it's going to be the responsibility of the residents to vote and do something about it.
Thank you, Trustee Gavin. Trustee Doyle?
Yes. Every time I come to this table and I listen to the business of the district, I feel some type of way to be a parent of a young man that graduated from this school in 2022 and now serving a prison sentence, and to sit here and not do the things that we are supposed to do for these children so they can have the things that they need once they leave this school to be able to do and be